I move that the Board of Selectmen open the meeting, Board of Selectmen meeting for June 23rd, 2020, at 6:30 PM.
Seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Roll call vote.
Josh Antrim, aye.
Cullinan, aye. It's nice to see everybody here tonight. We have a few things that we need to get straightened out first, and the first thing is the swearing in of Gene Canty, so he can participate. Okay. Sorry. Before we do that, we're going to do a pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, there, Gene. Carol, there's mics there if you need. Gene, you want to grab that mic? You might. Are they on, Tony?
You can take one of these.
Press and hold.
Let me see, Carol.
There you go.
Now we're ready. I
Eugene Canty,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of Massachusetts and all local ordinance, and that I will faithfully and impartially perform and discharge the duties of the Selectmen for the town of Nahant according to the law and to the best of my ability. Do you so swear?
thank you. I just want to say a few words, if I may, and then we can move on with this. But I'd like to introduce my family, my wife Karen, my daughter Meg, and my granddaughter Tyler. And over here in the corner is my brother, John Stabile. We'll talk about that later. But 3 votes. I got a call from the item today, and the reporter said, how do you feel about that? I said, let me tell you, I grew up playing sports, and every coach I ever had would always remind me, a win is a win. But, I had a tremendous team. Couldn't have been better. They should go into business and contract out to do this. The 3 votes is not indicative of what they've done or did for me. And I just hope that they have that opportunity again. Candace, incredible. Round of applause, please. Donna, you're all here somewhere, but really a fantastic job. Again, thanks, and I hope to step up to your expectations. Thank you.
Well, Gene, congratulations. And good to have you on the board.
Thank you.
Need a little feedback here. No problem.
Sorry, he turned it down.
Okay, first we're going to start with any opening comments. Josh, when we do these, Gene, just for your information, when we do these Zoom meetings, we need to take roll call votes. So we're going to go Josh first, you, then me. We'll go in alphabetical order. How's that? Seems to work.
Sure. Yes, a few comments. First of all, just the other day, we got word that in spite of 450 letters from the town and residents, MIPA has approved Northeastern's final environmental impact report. Another item is the Audubon Society is about to start a restoration project down at the Nahant Thicket, their sanctuary here in Nahant. That's going to start in early July. There's a meeting July 2nd at 5 p.m., sort of an informational meeting down there. I think it's on Furbish Road prior to them starting. It's going to take them about 3 or 4 weeks, and I think mainly they're redoing the boardwalks. There's a company that'll be doing that, and they work about 4 days a week from about 7 to 5. No working on the weekends. So if you want more information, you can go to that meeting at 5 o'clock on July 2nd. The third item is, Tony, I just sent you a little bit ago a financial assessment of the impacts of eminent domain associated with the CPC application. Can you distribute that to Mark and Jean for their review?
Absolutely.
And I also asked that Jeff Blake take a look at that and make sure everything's okay with that.
Yep.
And I don't know if we'll need to vote on that before we post it on the nahant.org website, but if we do, I'm hoping that you guys will have a chance to review it and provide any comments so we can update it prior to next week's meeting. I think we're having a meeting next week, right?
Yes, I'd like to have one if the board can do it Wednesday night. If you guys are all around, I'd like to have a Wednesday night.
So, yeah, so it would be good if we have that all reviewed so we can vote on it next week if possible.
Yeah, I look forward to taking a look at it, Josh. I know you put a lot of time into it, as did some others, so thank you. Jean, any opening comments other than what you just added? Tony, I just wanted to bring up one or two items. Last year, prior to me being a member of the Board of Selectmen, I was an officer at the Nahant Preservation Trust, and there was an incident at the life-saving station where someone with a disability was having a difficult time first getting a parking space at the life-saving station, and then also perhaps getting access to Short Beach. I know at the time I had a conversation with you as a member of the Nahant Preservation Trust, and I indicated at that point that certainly I think there were some misunderstandings, but the trust is certainly was willing to work with the town in providing access to Short Beach however we can. So there was sort of towards the end of the summer. And I know that there was an issue with just trying to get access onto the beach itself. There's one thing about providing a parking space, but if that parking space doesn't lead to an accessible ramp or something onto the beach, then it's really not compliant. So now, as a member of the Board of Selectmen, I'll flip my hat a little and say that I think it's important that we begin. I know that you have, and you might want to talk about it a little. Think about providing handicapped access, at least to Short Beach and perhaps to the beach or other areas in town. So maybe you could bring us up to date on that.
Sure. We have, the town became an MVP community about a year ago, and then we applied for a MVP Action Plan grant that was, its goal is to design resilient access paths to Short Beach and to restore the dune so it's one consistent, healthy dune protecting the shoreline. And in part of that is ADA access at least one of the entrances to the beach. So we hired Applied Coastal as our consultant. The grant doesn't include funding for the job for construction. It's just a design grant and to bring it to permit, shovel ready essentially. And we hope to be complete with that within the next month. And then we'll go through a public process where we will show the town what our Applied Coastal put together, and we'll give opportunity for the public to comment, and then later we'll apply for funding for actual construction. So we're kind of a couple steps ahead, actually, in a good sense. We're in pretty good shape to get to the next step on that, so.
Great. I think that people wanted to know that we haven't forgotten about this, that you are working on it, and hopefully someday soon we'll have accessible beaches in town.
Definitely.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's go on to new business. And the first item under new business is swearing in. We did that to Tony, to Jean, is to reorganize the Board of Selectmen. We do this every year after the election. Typically, the selectman who is up for election the following year becomes chair. So I'm fulfilling the unexpired seat, which is up next year. So we'll take it from there. So Josh, if you want to...
You have a motion in
Is there a motion? Oh, yeah.
yeah, the 3B.
2B. 2B. Well, I don't see it, but I'll make one up.
3B. Go to 3B.
Okay, sorry. I move to reorganize the positions of the Board of Selectmen as follows. Mark Cullinan as chairman, Josh Antrim as vice chairman, and Jean Canty as recording secretary.
I'll second that.
Any discussion on the motion? Seeing, hearing none. All those in favor, roll call.
Josh Antrim, aye.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I. Well, thank you. I never thought I'd be sitting in this position a few years ago.
The ladder fast.
Things change very quickly. You know, I remember when Tony was first appointed as town administrator, he asked me some advice, because some of you may know that I served as town administrator for 17 years. And my advice to him was to do what you think is right for the town, and to respect the position of the Board of Selectmen. But remember, the 3 people who will sign your contract today, 3 years from now, there'll probably be 3 other people, but you'll still be there. So you need to do what's right, Tony, and you have been doing that so far. So thank you. Let's go on to ongoing business. We need to talk about deficit spending. We postponed our town meeting to approve the omnibus budget. So the governor has allowed municipalities to vote on 1/12 budgets until they can convene an annual town meeting to vote on a fiscal year budget. So that's what we're doing tonight, Tony. I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, exactly. So because due to coronavirus and uncertainty on state revenues and local revenues, our town meeting has been postponed to the fall. We have to keep government moving between, for the month of July, August, and September until we get to town meeting where the residents of the town can vote on our budget. And this is a method allowed for typically by cities, but it's been extended to towns because of this public health emergency. And essentially what it is we create a deficit spending plan month by month that has to be approved by the Department of Revenue. We are limited somewhat on what that month-to-month budget can look like. What the Department of Revenue has asked is that our 1-month spending plan be no less than 1/12 of the total budget from last year. So step 1 was take a look at our FY20 budget and divide it by 12. Now that's our floor for our July, August, and September spending. Next step was to look at the spending trends per month per department. So as you know, we have some departments that spend high in certain months and low in other months. Like, for instance, the school doesn't spend a lot in the month of July, but they spend more in the fall. Police department tends to spend more in the summertime because of extra staffing and overtime and things like that. DPW, we have seasonal employees on, so your spending trends change per month per department. So we look at that, then we give that information, and then step 3, we actually looked at what did departments, we took that report of what departments actually spent in the month of July last year, and we provided that to department heads, and we said, all right, take a look at this and tell us what you think you need for this month, this upcoming month, to keep government running. It's important to note that included in this budget or not included into this budget or spending plan are major items that would require votes of town meeting, like major borrowings, major capital items, no salary increases, anything that would require a vote of town meeting is not included. This is basically bare minimum to keep government running on the same schedule that we typically do. So our submission to the Department of Revenue is $2,322,337. That is about $954,000 above the minimum 1/12. And the reason for that is because in the month of July, and we have to submit this information to the Department of Revenue, the town tends to pay off certain items in bulk in the month of July, in the first month of the fiscal year. Things like Essex Regional Retirement, debt payments, MWRA, Lynn Water and Sewer. Items like that, when we pay in bulk and in one lump sum, it actually, we receive a discount for the town instead of paying it month by month. So we're actually well above our minimum. The next step for us is to really monitor how much our department heads are spending, because we're still concerned about revenues being impacted come September. So we have our floor and our ceiling, and we want to monitor our expenses over the next 3 months to keep it in between those two. Obviously, we can't go above or below, but we want to try stay on the low side. And then come September, so we'll vote again on this. We'll have another 1-month budget in August. We'll have another 1-month budget in September. And then in September, when we go to town meeting, and we will be putting forward a full 1-year budget in front of the community, and they will vote on that 1-year budget, and then we will just reduce the money that's already been spent from those totals in our accounts. So I do have to give a huge shout out to our accountant, Debbie Waters, our assistant accountant, Lisa Arena. Kathy Famulari's been helping in that area as well. All of our department heads who have come together. This is definitely the harder way to do it. It's something that we haven't experienced in the past, and Debbie's been here for many years.
Longer than me.
many years, and it was new to her too. So I do want to take a minute to commend all of them and her for all the work that they did putting this together. It's definitely challenging. It's definitely added work, but it's the right thing for us to do going forward. Best financial decision for the town is to follow this method. So with that, any questions? And
I just have one question. So I understand the process here. Are we still closing out this fiscal year at the end of June or July 15th?
yes, we're still concerned about how we get to that point. We certainly don't want to end the year in a deficit. We have about $200-something thousand outstanding in real estate taxes, unpaid, and water sewer bills are due today or yesterday, and they're coming in. So we've put a spending freeze essentially on all departments and are doing our best to try to get to the finish line without being in a deficit. Should we end up in a deficit, we'll have to take money from next year's free cash to balance this year's budget, and then that's added impact to next year's annual budget, so.
If there is free cash.
We have about 600 something thousand dollars planned for next year's fiscal year. If we have to pull 200 something thousand of that over to balance, hopefully not that much, to balance this year's budget, that's going to be an impact, and we expect a 15 to 20% hit on our state aid too. And hopefully local revenues aren't too much of a hit as well, but.
Has there been any discussion on the state level about, is it 9C cuts?
There's been, the discussion I've heard is that 9C cuts aren't going to happen, and that next year, Chapter 70 will be protected. School state aid will not get hit, but other state aid may. For us, I think that our impact, the coronavirus impact on our finances has been more manageable than other communities who have split tax rates or hotel tax, local meals tax, local marijuana tax. We don't have a lot of that. We just adopted the local meals tax last year, and we didn't factor that revenue into this year's yet because we weren't sure how much we were going to receive from it. So it's obviously going to take a little bit of a hit, but we weren't planning on that revenues anyways. So hopefully, we're hopeful that our local revenues will come in and that we're able to balance the budget and it won't impact next year's budget too bad.
Great.
What did you say the unpaid real estate tax was?
It's about a little over 200,000.
Any more comments, Josh? Gene?
Oh, good. Thank you.
Thanks for the explanation, Tony. I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the deficit spending budget for the month of July 2020.
Second?
Seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing here and none. All those in favor?
Josh Antrim, aye.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I. Next on the agenda on ongoing business is the Ocean View request regarding the COVID-19 reopening phase, a temporary extension for use of an outdoor event tent.
We can come
Tony,
back.
can you talk about this?
Sure. So, and I believe Mike Gallant from Ocean View is on Zoom as well. But just a brief overview of what the request is. A few months back, Ocean View came to the Board of Selectmen requesting approval to have a temporary outdoor event tent for the shoulder seasons of their wedding season. About, I think it was a couple months in the early part of the spring, and then a couple months in the later part of fall. What Mike is requesting of the board is that for this summer, for this year, that you grant him permission to put the tent up immediately this year only because of the coronavirus impacts and because he's limited from doing any events indoors. So he's requesting essentially to put it up. So the way that this motion is going to read is until the third week of October, which is when the already agreed upon timeframe would kick in.
So just to make it clear then, this is not a request of change in any licensing that he may or may not have. He has all of the licenses in place to do what he's requesting to do. All he's requesting is to put up the tent a little earlier. Mike, you on?
Yes, I am on. I am having a little difficulty hearing some of you. Tony, I am hearing you okay.
Okay, I'll relay any questions that the board might have.
Thank you.
Any other?
Well, should we make the motion and then have a discussion, or? I guess I can make that, I'm on the right page, so I'll do it. I move that the Board of Selectmen pursuant to Section 6.1 of the Ocean View lease agreement vote to allow Ocean View to install a temporary outdoor event tent on the outside terrace area of the property beginning tomorrow and until the third week of October, when the lease addendum timeframe takes effect. So, you can second that, Mark.
I'll second that. It's seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
Well, you may recall that I voted against the tent a few months back. I stated my reasons back then, but it was approved by a vote of 2-1, and I certainly wish Mike success with his business, and I'm sure a company that relies on events, weddings especially, to make ends meet is practically impossible right now. So I plan to vote in favor of allowing the tent.
Gene?
Just a couple of questions. And I know that this will probably ride through, but hours, what are the hours going to be?
Mike, Selectman Canty had a question about hours of operation in your plan.
Sure. The hours of operation would coincide with our current limitations on licensing. I do believe that they are midnight is my recollection. I could confirm that timing. And just to touch base slightly on the occupancy, the tent would be set up as a precursor to preparation of Phase 3. And Phase 3 weddings will be permitted. And without knowing the exact guidance that pertains to Phase 3, we want to be prepared and ready. Even if the tent is in play, our occupancy will still be approximately 30 patrons less when combined even with inside occupancy, if it is allowed. Currently we have occupancy permissions for 220, and with social distancing in place, even utilizing indoor and outdoor space, the max occupancy that we would have would be 190. And the timing would coincide with our current permissions.
Okay. I heard somebody mention selective dining. What is selective dining?
Yes.
Oh, there you go. You got it.
Yes, thank you. There's been some considerations depending on when Phase 3 is announced and what continues to happen with the cancellation of couples that are canceling. So there's been some internal conversations that if the cancellations continue to perpetuate, and if Phase 3 continues to be time off, that perhaps we would enact some dining events that would perhaps be a wine dinner, a craft beer dinner, perhaps a seafood fisherman type dinner, and these would be pre-sold in advance, just given the style of our current operation.
Okay. How about music?
How about music?
Music. All of our music would be, we don't have plans for any live music outside at this point in time. I do know that our entertainment license does extend to that area, and I am well aware of the sensitivities of sound. It's my intentions that, we would be making sure that there would be no, loud or disruptive music, and we would self-monitor that with our own, 10 p.m. sound ordinance. if the only option was for us to have weddings outside. If there is an option for inside and outside guidance, then any noise would take place inside the property, not outside.
Okay, great, that explains that very well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And thanks for working with the town administrator and trying to get this resolved. Okay, so the motion has been made, seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor?
Josh Henry, aye.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I.
Can I just make a comment? If I could, a real faux pas at the beginning here when we announced my position. I had other people that, particularly my daughter in California, who's calling every day trying to make sure that this goes smoothly and is making phone calls from there to people that we know. Secondly, my daughter Michelle, who's up in New Hampshire right now, closing on a house. She's moving up there, away from us, sadly. Just kidding, Ty. And the other half of the Diane team, Donna's not here right now, but she was instrumental as well. Jim Walsh, if you don't mind me going through these, they worked hard. Elizabeth Berman, Michelle Capano, Debbie Vanderslice, John Lombard, Mick Raworth, all of these, if you wouldn't mind giving them a hand, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Gene. I noticed I skipped over item on ongoing business. I missed the police union contract under 4B of your tab, if you could turn to that. So this is a 3-year contract, I see, for the police union. Tony, I know that you've been working on it for pretty much a better portion of this year, so maybe you can give a quick explanation?
Sure, it's actually a 1 year for the current year that we're in, and then a 3-year that would start July 1st. Again, I gotta commend the police union and all the police department for working with me and being very patient with me. When I walked in the door, all 3 union contracts were up for negotiation. They had just signed a 1-year, 1% deal under the previous interim town administrator, Jerry Perry. And we've been, and we had the override budget and a number of other major issues over the last year, so it's been a constant line of communication. And then coronavirus hit, and again, the uncertainty of how we're gonna finish this current fiscal year, how next year may be impacted, really halted our conversations at a moment there. So we worked together and I explained to them, the situation that the town is looking at financially, and we came up with this agreement here that will actually be an agreement for a 0% raise in the current fiscal year that we're in, and then a 2% and a 3% and a 3% starting July 1st for the next 3 years. So that means for a 5-year period, the police union will have gone 1 year, 1%, so 1, 0, 2, 3, 3. For the town, this actually helps the community out and our budget, whereas we have adopted, actually at the last year's town meeting approved a general fund budget that was equipped with a 2% increase. And we weren't able to come to an agreement on the contract because of other issues getting in the way, but not because we were having trouble agreeing, but just because we were just having trouble getting to the table. So that 2% that we had budgeted for in the current fiscal year that we're in now that they're taking a 0% deal for this current fiscal year, will help us in closing out this current fiscal year and helping protect against a potential deficit. Likewise, the budget that we had put together for May's town meeting, that is now in September, included a 2% raise on top of the current fiscal year, whereas that's going to be decreased now because this 2% starts July 1 instead of starting last July. So it actually ends up being somewhat of a cost savings for the town now during a time of uncertainty, but also protects our employees and their needs and what they deserve in the out years. So all in all, it's a great contract. It also includes some adjusted legal language in there that federal law changed some items that we had to adjust this contract with. FLSA, Fair Labor Standard Act, calls for somewhat of a different calculation when it comes to overtime. We have that language in here. And then bringing their detail rates up to speed as well compared to other communities in the area, which doesn't really affect our general fund. So thank you to the police union.
Okay, Gene, maybe you can make a motion, and then if the board has questions, we can discuss it.
I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the Nahant Police Union Memorandum of Agreement for fiscal year 2019 to 2020, and the Memorandum of Agreement for the 3 fiscal years of 2020 to 2023.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Seconded. Any discussion on this? I guess what I'd say, Tony, first is, thanks for going through this. I know how difficult these can be. Are the other union contracts, DPW and fire, coming up the same year? I know that's always somewhat difficult sometimes. There's some benefits to that and some negatives to it on both sides, but you're working on those.
Yes, and we're very close. Okay. It's on me getting them the language, but we've spoke verbally about the same setup as this contract, and we're close. So it's more just, going through the legal process of providing them the language, them sharing it with their attorneys, and hopefully having this set up for before the next Board of Selectmen meeting.
Okay. Josh?
I just wanted to thank the police union and you, Tony, because I know it's been a long process, and I'm glad it came to a positive outcome, something that satisfies their needs and also fits within the constraints that the town has. So good job to
Thank
the
you.
union and you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I think it's fair and equitable based upon what they've given up over the last couple of years, so I think that works out pretty well.
Thank you.
I think we have a vote on this then. Roll call vote.
Josh Antrim, aye.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I. Town Administrator's report.
As far as coronavirus goes, we continue to be at 0 active cases, which is great for the community. And I commend all the members of the community for staying diligent and keeping their masks on and washing their hands and keeping social distance. And I know it's summer and it's tough to do. We all want to be at barbecues and at the beach, but I think people are doing a great job. I also want to thank all the residents who participated in the election over the weekend, the volunteers, the poll workers, the clerk's office, Etta Maycheck, who helped out who works for Mayor McGee from the city of Lynn, Tommy Mazzaferro, who helped with all the setup, DPW, police, and fire, and of course, the candidates and all their volunteers and supporters, but the voters. We had Almost 500, somewhere around that number, in absentee ballots before, submitted before Saturday. And then the process of coming through the town hall and coming upstairs instead of being, which is a new way of doing things where we're used to being in the Tiffany room. Everything went very smooth. So everybody deserves credit for how smooth that went off.
Absolutely. I thought it was flawless, and ended in a big bang, to both sides. But I thought that your staff did a great job. Some people may be wondering, there was a town clerk election. State law requires a 7-day period before the new town clerk can be sworn in, so perhaps...
We'll do that next week.
Next meeting, she can get sworn in. So a great job by you, Tony, and your entire staff.
Thank you. The governor put out new guidance for Part 2 of Phase 2 reopening, which includes some indoor dining. Honestly, we're still kind of going through some of those guidelines and hope to be communicating with our local businesses later this week regarding those issues. And that's it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Tony. And last on our agenda is Citizens Forum. Does anybody have anything to say? Either on Zoom or in the audience here. Why don't we start with people who may be here? Nothing? Great. Anybody on the Zoom call?
If anybody on Zoom would like to participate in Citizens Forum, just unmute yourself now and announce your name and your address. Typed in here is Michelle Capano asked, do we have any updates on Northeastern University? In the beginning of the meeting, Josh, Selectman Antrim, excuse me, mentioned that the final environmental impact report, or MEPA certificate, has been approved by MEPA. And that's probably the only latest update. Anything else? You put together a financial cost impact on eminent domain that I'm going to share with the rest of the board and Jeff Blake over at KP Law. Any other updates?
I think we're not.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Billy Mahoney has one over here.
I'm going to give you a microphone.
I think I turned them off, Tony.
While you're fixing the microphone, can I interrupt one more time? The one guy I didn't announce as being instrumental in my election is Bill Mahoney right there. Please.
The question I had, I've seen that MEPA zoning at these, up there in these plans, natural resource. And my feeling is that natural resource area should be left for conservation. It's what it's set up for many years ago. And we've had to place that zoning in place in the 90s. If I'm not correct. So I would like
Thank you, Bill. As you know, the MEPA review is not a permitting issue authority. They don't issue permits. Basically, what they do is say that they were in compliance with their filing. Should they go further with their expansion plans, there are a number of permits that they would be required to have that will be looked at, and I know town council is looking at that right now, and will have an opinion that will be shared to all of the permitting issue authorities in the town, what town council's position on this is, given our zoning bylaws.
If anybody else on Zoom has a question or comment, you can unmute yourself now. Okay.
That's it. Okay, I think then that's just about it. I just want to say congratulations once again, Gene.
Thank you.
And to your family. And Karen, you'll have to go through a lot yourself, so. And you're always behind the scenes, but he'll need some support as he goes through the next 3 years. So thank you. I have a motion to adjourn.
I told her it was 1 year.
No, that was me.
I move that the Board of Selectmen adjourn the meeting for June 23rd, 2020.
Second? Seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Josh Antrim, aye.
Gene Canty, eh?
Mark Cullen and I. Thank you.